here is the 7-step sales process. Now, this is going to be set up on a replay. You'll be able to catch this again. So I would advise writing it down, but if you're listening to this in a car or something, you've got to write this information down, and you're going to have to learn this information, ingrain this information so that you can walk people through the 7-step process without thinking about it. In other words, you should get to the point that you don't have to think about where you are in the process and, oh, did I skip a step? Am I where it has to become natural, has to become your native ability to do that. So step 1, very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take control and you're going to pre-qualify your prospect or your lead. Why do we do that? Well, we're going to get into each one of these here in just a second. So I'll go through every one of these steps and tell you exactly why we do it and what it is that you need to do. But the most important thing, the minute you get on the phone with somebody, the minute you're face-to-face with a prospect who's identified interest in whatever it is that you're selling, you must take control and you must pre-qualify that prospect. The next thing that you want to do is you want to build rapport. Now, this may seem a little odd, and we'll get into why you're going to build rapport here in just a second, but that is the absolute paramount next thing you need to be thinking about as you're going through the phone call or as you're going through your face-to-face, presentation with somebody. And building rapport is absolutely paramount in the process for reasons we'll get into here in a second. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to present. And by present, that could be presenting an offer. That could be presenting a product. Everybody that's on this webinar, they're coming from different fields. Most of you are coming from our real estate investing side, but many of you have other jobs where you're also in sales. So some of you sell software, some of you sell other products, business to business or software as a service or, security systems or whatever. You got to be able to present the product. After you presented the product, you have to be able to what's called feature benefit the product. I'm guessing most of you have never even heard of that before, which is very telling. And if you haven't heard of it before, make sure you pay attention when we get into the purpose of the feature benefit and why it's absolutely paramount to the sales process. And once you've done that, then you're going to trial close. And what is the trial close? That's when you're going to basically, there's no other way to say it, you're going to ask for the sale. You're going to ask for the deal. You're going to say, I want the deal. Let's go, right? And the purpose of the trial close is ideally you've already established enough rapport and presented properly and answer all of their questions and they're ready to go. But that would be what we call a lay down. And they come along and they happen. And that's fantastic. And you don't have to hit, numbers 6 and 7. You can just stop right there at trial close because that becomes the close. And that's fantastic when that happens. It's easy money. It means you did a fantastic job. You were with a qualified prospect. You went through every step in the process exactly the way that you were supposed to. And you got to skip steps 6 and 7. But the purpose of the trial close is to uncover, discover, ferret out, find, locate these things called objections. And people will object. And a lot of people have a hard time with getting objections because, they feel like it's negativity or it's, they're being rejected. Objection is not I should probably have done this as a slide now that I'm saying this. An objection is not a rejection. In fact, it's the exact opposite. But most people don't understand that. They think that an objection is a rejection, and it's not. In fact, if you understand what an objection is, which we'll get into again here in a second, but an objection signifies interest. They're not telling you no. They're saying, hey, the price is too low. The price is too high. I don't like the terms. I don't want to close next Friday. Whatever it is, they're objecting to something. And so your job then is to be able to handle whatever that objection is and get past it so that you can get to step 7, the close. And that is where you get the deal. That's where you get them to sign on the line, which is dotted, where you can make money. And this is the process that you have to perfect. You have to memorize this so that you can do it in a consultative approach, in a very professional conversational approach so you don't sound like a used car salesman and so you don't sound like a telemarketer reading a script. Has to be a natural flow. That's why we talk about you've got to get educated, and you're going to have to practice to the point that you can handle all 7 of these steps without somebody feeling like they're being sold. Let that sink in for a minute. You're going to have to handle all 7 of these steps without someone feeling like they're being sold. The desired goal is for you to have a conversation with somebody and get them to a yes through a conversation for what they perceive to be a conversation. Conversation that leads to a win-win deal. And if you ever listen to any of the recorded sales calls I do, that's exactly what happens on all the calls that I put up for you. If I get to a close, which most of them, thankfully, I do. And we've got calls up there that are 2 hours that go through this entire process. But you'll never hear me deviate from this exact process right here. This is exactly what it is. It's so ingrained I don't have to think about it anymore. And the only reason I don't have to think about it anymore is because it was memorized. I mastered each step, and then I practiced each step over and over again in practice before being put out on the field to score the winning touchdown. And when I was out there on the field, I got my teeth kicked in a bunch of times and realized where I was making mistakes, what else I needed to educate myself on and practice. And I did that, and I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I'll tell you, the very first time that you professionally sell and close somebody, it's unbelievable elation. I mean, like, you're like, oh my God, that actually worked. Okay. And there's no conflict. It doesn't feel like it's not a win-win deal. Everybody's happy. It's fantastic. And you make money, and you'll make more money by doing it this way.